So let me offer my warm greetings to our good Dhamma friends all around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Wanted to give a little bit of a background to what is the rainy season retreat. Today in Thailand is the day that the monks determined their 3 months period of rains retreat. So in the time of the Buddha, it was in the early days, Lord Buddha introduced rules as they were needed. And what was happening was, because it's a wandering tradition, or is a special word for it is peripatetic. We are a peripatetic tradition, which means that we can move around, and actually wandering through wilderness, trying to find suitable places to meditate is a large part of the tradition. And at the same time, when monks and nuns found a suitable place to practice, they would settle down for some time. If the place is very suitable, they may stay in that place for a long time. So Lord Buddha gave quite a bit of flexibility. The monks and nuns could spend periods of time wandering in the wilderness, or they could spend one period here, another period there. Lompo Man, the kind of grandfather of the great grandfather of the contemporary forest tradition, the teacher of our teachers, he was somewhat one of the reasons he was famous was because he never spent two rains retreats, and every single rains retreat was in a different place. So he practiced not being attached to places, and packing up your bowl bag and just going was a large part of his practice. But Lord Buddha obviously supported this. Dhutanga practices for shaking off attachment, so only having one set of robes and a bowl and being able to have everything you owned carry with you was a way to support a very high level of renunciation. Couldn't accumulate lots of stuff. But what happened was in the rainy season, the monks and nuns, as their numbers grew, they were walking through fields with freshly planted rice crops. And so some of the villagers were complaining, who are these monks and nuns walking through our fields, messing up our rice crop? And so Lord Buddha considered this, and he thought that it was appropriate that monks and nuns should find a suitable place to determine the monsoon period where they weren't wandering around. That they should find and that for that 3 month period, they actually did have to have a shelter. So a hut or a rocky overhang wasn't okay to sleep in the field, because outside of the wet season, Lord Buddha even allowed monks to sleep in fields or under trees. But during the rainy season retreat, the monks and nuns had to determine that they would stay in one place for 3 months. And so here at Anandagiri, the 5 bhikkhus who are here for the rainy season retreat, we did that just before I came logged on. So we've determined the 3 months here. Oftentimes it becomes 4 months because there's a 1 month afterwards, which is called the Katina season. So the monks would normally stay until the Katina ceremony is over. But because it's a more sedentary period, it's become a tradition that people would choose to focus. So we all have a bit of a sense after a few years, what is our strength in practice? What is our weakness in practice? What would it be good to give a bit more attention to? And so it's become somewhat a tradition that people would consider before the retreat, what should I be brushing up on? What should I focus on while I have this period of time which is quieter, simpler, less complicated, and while I have kind of the moral support, energetic support of a group of people who have a commitment together. So it's grown up to be something of a tradition that people would set, it's like a bit like a New Year resolution. It's like a determination, a vow, a pledge. What's interesting about 3 months is suppose we know that we actually really need to meditate more or chant more or be consistent with the precepts, but we can't find the resolution to say, from this day onwards, I will always keep all of the precepts strictly, or from this day onwards, I will meditate every day without fail, or this day onwards, I will meditate twice a day or 3 times a day, whatever it is, whatever you need to do to increase your good efforts. Sometimes it's hard to be absolutely resolved. So what we can do, you think about a 3-month period of time. Okay, so I have this 25% of 1 year. I have this 3-month period of time where I really can make a more diligent effort for a period of time. And then hopefully the result of that is after the 3 months, you will see the benefit of having done whatever it was that you did. You kept your precepts more strictly, or you meditated, chanted more often, or whatever it was, that you see the benefits, and then you can maintain that standard for a longer period. But at least we try. We try to increase our wholesome and skillful efforts at doing noble things. So the foundation is, the basic foundation for Buddhist practice is, of course, the 5 precepts and the refuges. So I thought as a beginning, we would do that together. I'm not taking the 5 precepts. I'm going to keep 227, but I will lead you in keeping 5 precepts. And this starts with refuge. So some basic aspects of, before we do the ceremony, we like to do the ceremony with mindfulness and clear comprehension. We like to know what we're doing, why we're doing it. So when we go for refuge to the Buddha, Lord Buddha realized his ultimate potential, purified and liberated his mind. So we have faith in that. We have faith that a mind can be purified and liberated. Lord Buddha realized Nibbana, and so we have faith that Nibbana exists. So Nibbana is something that conscious beings can realize, and in realizing it, their mind is liberated and purified. So when we have faith in Buddha, we understand Lord Buddha realized that. And then the Dhamma actually is ultimate truth. Dhamma is truth. Actually, it's everything. Dhamma is nature. But in terms of Buddha Dhamma, we're talking about ultimate truth. And then it's also understood to be the teachings which describe the methods and practice, the ways to contemplate, consider, that will help us to realize that ultimate truth. So it's the path and training and truth. So we go for refuge in that. But when we go for refuge in Dhamma, it's similar. We are also going to refuge to our potential, to realize ultimate truth. And because the path of practice is not in the bookcase, it's not the picture of a Dhamma wheel, it's in our hearts. That's where we have to train. We train our thoughts, speech, actions, and the place where we have greed, hatred, and ignorance is in our minds, and the place where we establish right view, develop mindfulness and wisdom is in our minds, and the place that you will experience Nibbana is, as Lord Buddha describes, within this fathom-long body. So when we take refuge in Dhamma, we're taking refuge and we're affirming that potential. Actually, you have everything you need. With a human body and a mind, you have everything you need to purify a mind. The issue is how much mindfulness, clear comprehension, wisdom, and samadhi can we cultivate to accomplish this on the foundation of virtue. But we do have what we need, which is really great. It's very affirming. It's not software. It's not a software issue, it's a hardware issue, and you have the hardware. So Sangha, going to refuge in the Sangha, very important. What it means is there were, ever since yesterday was a Sala Puja, so that was the day 2,600 or so years ago, when Anya Kondanya, when listening to Lord Buddha's teachings on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, had the insight, all that is of the nature to arise is of the nature to cease, and in having that insight, he realized the first level of enlightenment. He became a stream enterer. And so that was the first time that Lord Buddha demonstrated. Other people can accomplish what I've accomplished if they're practiced in the same manner that I practiced. And so a couple of days afterwards, the Lord Buddha taught the Anattalakkhana Sutta to the first 5 bhikkhus, and they all attained to arahantship. So then it was, you have Buddha, you have Dhamma, and you have Sangha, beings who have realized the same purification and liberation of mind as the Buddha. They didn't have the same incredible qualities and abilities as the Buddha, but they did have the same liberation. They did have the same purification. They did have the same unshakable peace, which could not degenerate. So going for refuge in Sangha is, again, it's the fact that beings can realize this, and millions have, is very encouraging. So when we go for refuge in the Sangha, it's like, yes, this is something that millions of other people have also accomplished, and something that I can accomplish. Once again, going for refuge in your own potential to become part of the noble Sangha. That's where the practice leads. And in terms of Ajahn Ganha wants to describe Buddhism, the Buddha Dhamma, the Buddha Sasana as being the beings who have mindfulness and wisdom. So it's not the Sangha in this day and age is not necessarily people wearing the robes. Obviously, a percentage of people wearing robes are part of your Sangha refuge, the ones who are behaving properly and practicing skillfully. The ones who are just wearing robes but aren't behaving properly and practicing skillfully, they are not Sangha. They are just wearing a robe. But lay practitioners who are practicing well, they can also be part of the Sangha, lay Sangha. And people who have mindfulness and wisdom are part of our Sangha refuge, our Kalyana Mitta. So then after that, we will go through the 5 precepts. It is understood as a training, but it is also kind of understood as non-negotiable. So Lord Buddha basically said, if you want to be my disciple, this is the standard. He gave the refuges and the 5 precepts. They weren't kind of saying, but can I have a half a glass of wine, Lord Buddha? That just didn't happen. It was like, you are not to take intoxicating drinks and drugs. That was the instruction. So if you break some of the precepts, sometimes it is a sekar, a training, and the training is to break it less often and try to keep it as purely as you can, because Lord Buddha also explains that keeping the 5 precepts is the foundation for being truly human. And if anybody wants to have a human rebirth, you have to have the 5 precepts at least. Ajahn says this quite often. And I believe he has the ability to see where people get reborn after they die. So if he's saying this, in fact, there's a couple of dogs in Ajahn monasteries that used to be naughty novices that used to eat late at night. And what's very interesting is they have fur exactly the same color as my robe. So keeping the precepts is important, and breaking them has consequences. So we should make an extra special effort with this, at least for this 3-month period. And if you see the benefits, I'm sure the overwhelming majority of Ajahn Achala's disciples are already keeping strict precepts. Sadhu. If you're one of those few who occasionally stray, time to pull up your socks. Okay? Punta time. So let's go through the refuges and 5 precepts.
Mayam bante tisaranena saha panchasilani yachama. Dutiyampi mayam bante tisaranena saha panchasilani yachama. Tatiyampi mayam bante tisaranena saha panchasilani yachama.
We can do the Namo Tassa together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. We can also do the refuges together. Let's do it in Pali and English, and let's do it together. Buddhang sarang gacchami. To the Buddha, I go for refuge. Dhammang saranang gacchami. To the Dhamma, I go for refuge. Sanghang saranang gacchami. To the Sangha, I go for refuge. Dutiyampi puttang saranang gacchami. For the second time, to the Buddha, I go for refuge. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. For the second time, to the Dhamma, I go for refuge. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. For the second time, to the Sangha, I go for refuge. Tatiyampi puttang saranang gacchami. For the third time, to the Buddha, I go for refuge. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. For the third time, I go to the Dhamma, I go for refuge. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. For the third time, to the Sangha, I go for refuge. Tisaranang kabanang nitithang. Now please say Amabante.
Amapante.
Please repeat after me. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Hatinatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Surap merayamacha pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness. Imani pancha sikkhapadani. Please say that 3 times. Sitlena sugating yanti, sitlena boga sampada, sitlena nibuting yanti tasama silang visotaye. Virtue is a source of happiness. Virtue is a source of true wealth. Virtue is a source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified.
Everyone, please join me with the 3 sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Ajahn.
When we take the precepts like this, it's good to feel that you have wiped the slate clean, as it were. Sense of conscience, if we've made mistakes, is helpful. But the point of having a conscience is to simply learn not to do it again. So, but guilt and self-loathing is not helpful, is actually quite harmful. So nobody's asking you to feel guilty. Nobody's asking you to have any self-loathing. What we are asking of you is that you commit to having a good standard of virtue as of this moment, and that you do this as an investment in your happiness and well-being. Now we will make some pledges. So for myself, it's been a little bit of a busy time, traveling down to Rayong, going to the Wat Prakau Temple of the Emperor Buddha, going to the palace, going back to Rayong, coming up to Khao Kho, where I live, again, down to Rayong, again to Wat Prakau, the palace. So normally I like to try to sit a few longer sessions, but recently my sessions have got a bit shorter. So I was doing many half-hour or 45-minute sessions per day, but I'm going to make I'm going to start with making my pledge. So during this rainy season retreat, I, Achalo Bhikkhu, will sit meditation 5 hours per day as a minimum. So that will be 1 hour before arms round, 1 hour after arms round, 2 hours from between 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. and another hour after our evening chanting at 8 p.m. So wherever you are in the world, if you want to feel like you're meditating at the same time as Ajahn Achalo, I'll be meditating at those times. You can meditate with me. So as well as this, I will have my arms round, some walking meditation and some chanting. But I want to make a commitment to getting back to longer sessions and being consistent, pulling up my samadhi socks, as it were. So that's my main aspiration. And there's a couple of chants that I want to brush up on. So now I'd like to open the floor. If anybody would like to make a pledge and share it with us and to give people inspiration, please raise your hand. And if nobody does want to make their pledge public, I'm going to ask a few people to. So. Sometimes when you say these things in public, it helps you keep it. Sangawai. Hello.
Yes, Ajahn.
What is your 3 months rainy season retreat pledge?
I will follow you and do the meditation 5 hours.
Sadhu. Wonderful. Thank you.
Good evening, Ajahn.
Who is that?
Good evening, everybody. I like to pledge during these 3 months. I like to do 3 hours per day minimum. 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, and 1 hour in the night.
Okay, who is this? Who is this speaking? Can't see you.
Oh.
Who is it, JC?
Asoka from Singapore.
Asoka Ajahn from Singapore.
Asoka, okay, excellent.
Yes. And I like to also do 2 rounds of mala of Idipiso daily.
Excellent.
Yes, once in the morning and once in the evening before I go to bed.
Excellent.
And this is a commitment to strengthen my samadhi and also to escalate my journey towards liberation.
Sadhu, sadhu. Wishing you every success, Asoka. Sadhu.
Thank you.
So I'm glad that Asoka mentioned the Itipiso chanting, using a mala, doing the 108 rounds. That is something that Thanajananand is recommending a lot of late, because in the old days, the forest masters used to recommend Buddho as the method, just do Buddho, Buddho. But I think what has happened is in the century that has passed since Lumpur Man was a young monk, our lives have got busier and more complicated. And so I think we need more syllables, more to do with our minds to keep ourselves wholesomely engaged. So Thanajan has found that the Itipiso chant, praises to the Buddha in Pali, is very effective, and you do it for 108 times. In the beginning, it takes about 35 minutes, but once you get adept at it, it takes about 25 minutes. So it's, in general, I would like to recommend, if you have a spacious enough schedule, to do practice morning, afternoon, and evening. But some people find if they just sit and they don't feel like they're getting anywhere, that can just feel a bit dry and a bit tedious. So you can alternate. But if you're making some kind of an idea of doing some practice morning, afternoon, evening, so it might be sitting in the morning, it might be walking in the afternoon, it might be an extra long session of chanting in the evening, but setting that kind of aspiration to be more consistent and more regular. But you can do a variety of practices that help to brighten your mind and help you to have better mindfulness and lay a foundation for good samadhi. Okay, great.
Good evening, Ajahn. May you be well and happy.
Thank you.
I'm Zen from Malaysia. I used to chant your chanting books, from page 6 to 18. So as well as in front of everyone, I should make a pledge to chant it every day for these 3 months retreat.
Okay, sadhu. Any meditation?
I'll let Ajahn to decide. Yes.
Yeah. I think
I
you need
will.
to add, please do 15 minutes of meditation after your chanting.
Okay, Ajahn, I will keep it.
Anybody that comes to the monastery at this point in time gets kind of hooked by Ajahn and gets wrestled into making some commitments. It's a lovely tradition that we have. So, any more lovely practitioners going to be courageous in making an aspiration?
We have a queue. Next, I will invite Vaibhav. I will add you on spotlight.
Hello, Ajahn. I'm a new follower. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and thanks for accepting me in the Sangha here. I've been joining for the last few weeks.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I pledge to do at least 1 hour of meditation every day, 40 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, as well as I'm attracted to reading the Dhammapada. So I pledge to read 1 chapter of the Dhammapada every day, just and keep repeating that.
Yes, very good. Sadhu Anumodana.
Thank you, Ajahn.
That's another good idea too, isn't it? Just reading a pithy Dhamma verse each day and contemplating a little bit of Dhamma. A good idea. Sadhu.
Hi, Ajahn, it's Forrest. I'm very happy to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So for the past 6 weeks, I've been keeping the Brahmacharya 3rd precept and the 7th precept, and that Adhichan literally just expired today and I was about to give up, but then I saw your Facebook meeting. So I'm gonna try to keep the Brahmacharya 3rd precept for another 6 weeks. I know it's not the whole 3 months, but at that point, I'll then decide if I can keep it for the rest of the mains retreat.
Very good. Hello, Malika.
Hello, Ajahn. I have been following you for many years now.
Nice to meet you.
To me, I didn't meet you when you came to Dhammagiri, but yeah. Ajahn, I just thought I'll keep the 5 precepts and 8 precepts once a week.
Yeah.
And then meditate for 3 hours, morning, midday, and then in the night.
Wonderful. Sadhu.
And practice sense restraint.
Yeah.
And watch my thoughts to see how the kilesas are working on my mind. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. I really am benefiting from all your talks and question and answers, Ajahn. Thank you so much.
Very happy to know that.
May you have a peaceful and fruitful Vassa 3 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, JC.
So much.
Malika made that interesting point that we meditate for the purpose of generating the mindfulness, and then we engage that mindfulness by being aware of what we're doing with our minds outside of the meditation session. Sometimes I underestimate that point because I'm a monk and I live in a monastery, and it's kind of a given for me because I have to keep a lot of rules and I live with monks. But that is the point. One of the points is that the clarity that we develop from our practice, we then set the resolution to try to carry that mindfulness into our daily activities and be aware of what are we thinking, what are the quality of the thoughts, are these worthy of pursuing, or are they something that should be abandoned? And then we practice this sense restraint, guarding the mind, trying to give shepherd or steward the blossoming of wholesome mind states by encouraging those, and then try to relinquish, contain, let go of the unwholesome ones. That's right mindfulness in action. And Luang Por Chah explains that letting go is one of the most important parts of practice. Is when you've recognized that a mind state is unwholesome, you try to let it go. He also did say that half of practice is knowing what is unwholesome and not being able to let it go. That's very important to know, because we shouldn't get disheartened. When you recognize you have an unwholesome mind state, you don't want to pursue it, but it's still there and you can't quite let go of it yet. Well, then don't let it become speech and don't let it become activity. you just patiently endure with the mind state, try to have loving kindness for yourself. But it's important to understand that knowing that something should be abandoned and trying to abandon it is what is conditioning the ability to be able to in the future. So even Luang Por Chah said, half of practice for himself as a young monk was knowing what should be relinquished and not quite being able to do it yet. But it's in the diligence, the sincerity, and the keeping on trying that those letting go muscles get stronger, and we can let go of more and more unskillful mind states and more quickly. So very good, Malika.
Aparajita from Dubai.
Thank you. Hello.
Good evening, Aparajita.
Good evening. I wrote it down this time because I didn't risk forgetting things. So Prajan, thank you for this first. And I pledge to deepen the practice of chanting and meditation during this time of Rain's retreat. I will practice 60 minutes of chanting meditation in the morning, 60 minutes of chanting and meditation in the afternoon, early evening, as time permits, 15 minutes metta meditation before sleep at night. Please bless me so I may fulfill my pledge.
Sadhu. You have my blessing, and
Thank you.
you're the one that has to fulfill your pledge.
I know. I will.
You definitely have my blessing. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good evening, Ajahn.
Good evening.
Malaysian staying in Bangkok.
Okay, come.
This Rain's retreat, I would like to pledge to meditate at least an hour a day, and another hour to do any Dhamma related stuff like listening to a Dhamma talk or just reading any Buddhist related book. And the third one is I've been trying to memorize the Great Compassion Mantra for a very long time, so I hope that I can memorize it fully this time.
How much have you got? What percentage is it now?
Actually, after listening to your chant that day, I managed to memorize about 3/4 already. So just another quarter to go.
Okay, good. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Meditation, Dhamma reflection, and chanting. Learning chants is a big part of monk's practice, actually. So, especially in the early years, and then later on, you have to brush up on what you used to know that you're starting to forget now. So. There's one of the chants that many monks learn is the 45 minutes of the monk's rules, 227 rules, and learn it by heart. And probably the Parita chanting takes about half an hour. Most of us know that without looking at the book. Morning chanting, evening chanting, Paritas. Many people memorize the Dhammacakka Sutta. And so memorizing a chant, one of your favorite chants, or a regular chant is a good way to train. One of the ways that mindfulness is described is right recollection, and training in recollecting a good chant with good meanings is another way that we train in cultivating mindfulness. And of course, when we chant, when we're recollecting the words without looking at the book, it's a good way to keep practicing that right recollection. Very good. If you have the time, everybody can add one more chant to their repertoire.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to invite Jin Pang.
Good evening, Ajahn.
Good evening.
I've been, as a lay person, there's a lot of distractions in the lay life, but I tried my best. I attended the evening chanting and Dhamma talk by Ajahn Luang Por Anand, and your fortnightly meetings as well, and do my own memorizing of chanting and so on. But just 1-2 days ago, I felt that I am giving into too much distractions in the world, right? Like sometimes unknowingly, like social media and news and so on, right? And I can see that it plants a lot of negative distractions, which actually hinder mindfulness, and it is actually quite harmful. So, and that also distract me from doing more meditation, and to be able to have the mindfulness to overcome the so many distractions in this lay life, right? So I pledge to do the minimum of 3 hours of meditation every day, right? And to memorize more suttas, and memorize more chanting, and to do much more than I'm doing right now. Right? So I just want to do it in front of Ajahn as a reminder to myself to take this very seriously.
Wonderful. Sadhu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ajahn.
As Lillian just mentioned, the social media apps and things can take up a lot of one's time, oftentimes without us even really noticing. So there's different things that you can do. One of the benefits of making a pledge and making a promise to do a certain amount of practice as a minimum is it means when it's time to sit, you do have to put down your mobile device. It's time to go and practice now. And so that can be very helpful. It might also be helpful to set a time for yourself where you allow yourself to do it, and then other times where you don't. So it might also be just as helpful to say that you're allowed to do social media for 1 hour a day, for example, and be really strict with it. So you have a half an hour in the morning and a half an hour in the afternoon, and you don't look at it again. Don't look at it in the morning until you've done your practice, and don't look at it in the evening. And you just have the time that you do look at it. Try to keep it within a container of what is a healthy amount. Just as a suggestion. So I'm fortunate as a monk. People don't expect me to pick up my phone every time it rings. So my phone is normally on silent, and I call back people if I see they've called at the time that suits me. But that's something that people allow Buddhist monks to do. But it's very helpful. And I don't take my phone away from my kuti. So if people see me walking around the monastery, I don't have my phone in my hand, and I come back and I'll have a look at it when I feel like looking at it, and seeing if someone called, and then calling them back at a time that is convenient. So it's like learning how to use these things rather than being used by them. And I just wanted to mention my own standard with it, so that people understand that it is possible. It is possible to have them on silent. It is possible to leave them home sometimes. You don't have to have it on. You don't have to have it with you all the time. There are ways to set some boundaries with these things and learn how to use them in a way that supports your life and your spiritual practice, and in a way that doesn't harm your life and spiritual practice.
Good evening, Ajahn.
Hello,
So
Shivani.
my pledge for this rain retreat is that I will make adityan of especially the morning meditation, which goes haywire because of my wrong timings. So I have to work on that. That is very important. And I have to work on my mindfulness, and also investigate the defilements of anxiety and self-doubt, which is really hurting me a lot. And of course, stay away from social media as much as possible. So those are my determinations in the return for the retreat, and I really seek your blessings to be able to work on these.
Okay, so do you do metta practice as part of your practice, metta bhavana?
Metta bhavana, not recent. I've not been doing it recently.
Yeah, okay. So for things like anxiety and like self-doubting issues and stuff, basically if you add a good portion of metta bhavana to your practice, in general feelings of well-being should increase, and also feelings of self-worth, because however you are, if you have metta, you just care. You care for yourself. So when you do your sitting, maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes you do metta bhavana, and you really establish it in your heart center and in your body, and then radiate it outwards to other beings. And I think the anxiety and the confidence issues will get better. So, wishing you every success, Shivani.
Thank you, Ajahn.
It's interesting, isn't it, that why is it so often that the really lovely people have anxiety and issues with lack of confidence? These are the people that we need to be confident in the world, aren't they? the really lovely people should be confident. And, may all lovely beings be confident.
Good evening, Ajahn.
Hi, Monica.
How are you, Ajahn?
I'm great, thank you.
Ajahn, it's been 3 years I'm following Uposits, and I was fortunate to practice 8 precepts in my last Vassa. So that's why I was very unsure that what I should do this time, because I'm following it. Just like last year, I thought that this year also I'll sit for my self-retreats whenever I'll get time. So usually I sit all together for 7 days or 10 days or 15 days as as per my responsibilities. And last year also I worked on Mahasatipatthana Sutta, Anapan Sati Sutta. So I'll be doing that again this year. So I still request you if you can give me something more to work upon, because I still feel that I am blank. Because
Right.
of late, the past painful experiences of life or traumatic experiences have come on the surface again.
Right.
And during my sadhana, I'm okay. I can see that my mind is unwholesome or is reacting. And I do not fight with that thought any longer. However, those thoughts are much stronger. They are on the surface, and at times I'm blank. I do not know what to do.
So may I ask you, do you have a committed Metta Bhavana practice? Similar question.
Yes, Ajahn.
When and how often do you do Metta Bhavana?
Every day. After my meditation, or at times when I'm very disturbed, I try sitting with your discourses on Metta Bhavana.
Okay.
So
I would like you to do it for the first 15 minutes of whatever practice you're doing. I would like you to do Metta before, not after.
All right.
Okay. So really establish that Metta Chitta and have confidence that this is Lord Buddha's instruction, because in the 11 benefits of Metta Sutta, Lord Buddha says, those who practice Metta, their minds concentrate quickly and easily. So it's part of the necessary foundation for having a successful samatha practice and of having enough samadhi to have the insight. So a lot of people feel like it's self-indulgent or it's vain, so they kind of skip it. But we can't skip it. We must have a healthy self-interest, self-care. That's the foundation from which we can really care for our lives in a way that is good for ourselves and good for others. So I would like you to just make a commitment. Okay, the first 15 minutes, whatever you're doing, if it's Anapanasati or Satipatthana, you're going to start with 15 minutes of Metta Bhavana and really holding it in your body-mind experience, and so that you can really feel it informing your own consciousness, like you feel healthy self-care, you feel well-being, you feel blessed. So one of the things many people like to come and see monks for is to get that feeling of blessing. You come and see your Ajahn, your guru, your master, because you feel blessed by him. But actually, it is the metta of the master that we feel and that makes us feel blessed. And we are all capable of developing that attitude within our own bodies and minds and blessing ourselves. So it's something that we all have to learn how to do, how to bless our own mind stream with the loving kindness as the foundation for the developing insight and samadhi. So please, whenever you come to do your sit, I want you to spend 15 minutes on it first, every time, for 3 months. And I want to know at the end of 3 months how that changed things. So, and I do believe that it can really heal past trauma. It has the power to do that. It's not necessarily that the painful feelings completely go away, but it's the attitude that is around them of just care. So it's like painful memories, painful feelings arise and cease within an attitude of caring. So it doesn't hurt as much. So, yeah. All the best with that. Take care, Monica.
Thank you.
My name is Catherine, and my Pali name is Vimalani.
Nice
I
to
have
meet you.
been observing the 8 precepts since 2018.
Wonderful.
And my pledge for this year's Vassa is a minimum of 3 hours of meditation in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. And usually in the afternoon, I will do 1 hour of walking meditation. For
Great.
this Vassa, I want to memorize the Karaniya Metta Sutta, Ratana Sutta, and Bojjhanga Paritta.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Sadhu,
Sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
Hello, Ajahn. Yes, hi. Hello, Ajahn.
Good evening, Shraddha. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Ajahn. I would like to pledge to meditate at least 3 hours while I'm home.
Wonderful.
And work on being more mindful, especially to be noting my breath as I fall asleep, and also to remember to note my breath as soon as I wake up, which is something I've been trying to do but haven't been so good. So I would like to pledge that. And also read a sutta a day.
Wonderful.
Thank
Sadhu,
you,
sadhu,
Ajahn.
sadhu. 5 hours of meditation, 3 rounds of 180 episodes, learning Thai.
Quite a fair bit of stuff going around here because of the pandemic, obviously. I think Ajahn knows me very well. I've never been very good at bhavana.
You're a good chanting, you're a good chanter.
So I am still doing my chanting in the morning and in the and for the past 1 week I've been doing Dhammachakra with Triwan from Melbourne in the afternoon, and at night the usual chanting. So I would like to pledge at least to do 45 minutes in the morning, and if possible the same time with Prajahn, and one in the evening before I go to bed, another 45 minutes of meditation. And I will be doing Dhammachakra at least 3 times a week in the afternoon.
Okay.
And I've been doing my EDPSO as well. I'm now at 214 rounds of 108. So
okay.
I have still a long way to go of to reach 700 700 rounds. Probably take me another couple of months to do that. Yeah. And thank you, Ajahn, for this lovely evening, and you have been very compassionate and very kind to lead us in this adhitthan or determination. I'm very sure and certain that this will be an added support for our practice. And I can't say more. You are my principal beloved teacher who has been very helpful to a lot of people, and those who have come aboard, and you have also been taking them along pretty well, and a lot of them has really benefited a lot from your Zoom session. I have received many emails, and also WhatsApp chat, and also sometimes in the Facebook. Yeah, but there's quite a fair bit, so I can't send everything to you, knowing sometimes that could be quite a fair bit of the mails going to you. I try to minimize that as much as possible. Anumodana Ajahn for being such a kind, lovely monk who has been taking care of us all very well. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Joyce. Anumodana for your commitment to your practice and your increasing practice, and all of your service in supporting. Obviously, Ajahn has many projects and manages to do many things in no short, partly because I'm so well supported by a good team of people who help me. So we all appreciate what JC and Joyce do to keep the group well informed and keep the live streaming.
Thank you, Ajahn, for the opportunity that you're giving us to do some work for the sasana as best as we can. And we would also like to ask for your forgiveness and everyone who's on the Zoom tonight. If we have in any way, through body, speech, and mind, that we have not done, please forgive us.
I forgive you.
And
Sadhu,
thank
sadhu,
you,
sadhu.
my dear JC, my Deva JC.
IT support, yes, you're good Kalyana Mitta.
You now like to invite Jay from Indiana.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Hi, Jay.
I just want to, good morning. I just want to pledge to memorize the Iti Piso, and in the 3 months, I've still got the tail end of it hard to memorize, but that, and I wanted to ask you if you could give me a random Dhamma task to memorize in the next 3 months or to do.
So when you say Iti Piso, you're talking about the 3 verses, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as well, or?
No, just the
Buddha, praises to the Buddha.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So obviously you can do Namo Tassa and Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. You can do the refuges, praise to the Buddha, Iti Piso. So there's another small chant. Maybe JC can send it to Jay. That one, Nati me saranang anyang, Buddha me saranang warang, etena sacha wajena soti me hotu sabada.
Okay.
I go to the refuge of the Buddha. The Buddha is my only refuge. That chant. JC, if you can send that to Jay later. Please learn that in these 3 months.
Thank you, Ajahn.
For the people who wrote their pledges, I will read them before I'll turn off my video and audio, and I will read your pledges before I go and do my last session of meditation. So your pledge will be read by the Ajahn. So I'd like to wish you all success in accomplishing your goals and establishing your practices. And may your practice of Buddha Dhamma, help you to realize your potential to be peaceful, wise, content, and experience well-being, and eventually having penetrative insights into ultimate truth that lead you to complete cessation of every type of suffering. So you definitely have my blessing to achieve that. That's what I wish for all of us. And may you have a great 3-month period. And I hope that in keeping these standards, lifting your efforts, that you will see the benefit and then hopefully can continue with your good, wholesome practices.
Sadhu. Thank you so much, Ajahn, for such a beautiful and uplifting and inspiring session.
So I just want to say I also feel uplifted and happy when I listen to people setting the intention to further cultivate their minds and practice of Buddha Dhamma. So sadhu, 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 annamottana. I enjoyed spending time with you, and if conditions allow, I'll see you in 2 Wednesdays away. So.
Yeah, before Ajahn, before you go off,
Thank you.
We would like to pay our respect to Ajahn first, and also we would like to wish Ajahn a beautiful Vassa and a fruitful Vassa with deep insight into the truth.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
All the best, everybody.
Sadhu, Ajahn.
Sadhu.